Satnam, everybody. It's so great to be with you here today with Supran Kaur in Vermont and Tiago Priti Kaur in Portugal. I'm Shakti Kaur, and we're having a little discussion today on what is Shakti Pod and what can you do about it. So we can just jump in right now and begin. I can tell you from my experience, my 50 plus years on this path, that Kundalini Yoga is extremely powerful. And I think that when people step into the space to make Kundalini Yoga a personal practice of their own, it's recognizing that this is a very, very powerful pathway. It gives you a lot of strength, a lot of radiance. And you as a teacher are just channeling something much stronger than your own finite self. So an acknowledgement of this, I can say my 50 some years, I've seen people come with incredible gifts and incredible projections and mastery and teachership and musicianship, and then I've seen them go. So it's kind of like watching a movie, you change the channel, there's a different cast. So I've been watching this for years and, am I scratching my head wondering, why are people leaving or where are you going? You're going to Hawaii? I don't know. But just when you take it down to this topic that we've chosen to share with you today, is that in the realm of Kundalini Yoga, whether you're a practitioner or a teacher, you will be experiencing a lot of gifts. And those gifts are coming to you in this lifetime and connecting you to that spiritual teacher that brought these teachings to us. And this is a gift. Okay. What you do with your gifts, you decide, right? But those of you who are practicing and really are concerned, here's a little comforting note. Shaktipat only comes once in a lifetime. Okay, so when you go through it, this is according to my notes, it may seem like it's with you all the time, but it is a state of getting into a parallel universe where maybe you position yourself as being the guide teacher, or you have a challenge. It's usually related to challenge, and it's usually related to ego. Okay, challenge, ego, these are components in our life always. And when you're given the gift of a spiritual pathway and a spiritual teacher that's as powerful as Kundalini Yoga, then you have an opportunity. If you can maintain yourself through that challenge, then you're good to go. You can keep going, right? It's not like all of a sudden I've got a little Shakti pot on me and I've got to brush it off. It's not quite like that. It's not a small thing. It's usually a big thing. So we're open here with Supran and Tiago Priti to share with you our perspectives and ask questions and just be real together so we can really understand and incorporate this understanding into our spiritual practice. And I hope this helps you. Okay, so here we go.
Thank you, Sakshi. Oh, Tiago Priti, go ahead first.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Sakshi, for sharing. And there is a question actually that came up in me when you said Shaktipat only is happening once in your lifetime, right? So I wonder, how can I recognize that I'm through, I mean, if there is something going on where I feel my ego is getting big, and is that already Shaktipat, or?
I think that's just a daily part of your meditation. It's part of the process of meditation that each time you sit down, you have a choice whether to stay in your meditation or leave it, right? So no, that's not Shaktipad. That's just, okay. Okay, let's go into Shakti means power, right? And Pad, a Pad is a level, kind of like, and when we enter into the space, in my experience, when I went to my first Kundalini yoga class, it was, wow, this is it. I've been longing for this all my adult life, and now I'm here. Well, that was just entering through the door. So then, it's taken me years and years and years to understand, what is my path? What is this? What's Kundalini yoga? Am I a teacher? I'm teaching. It just seems like it goes with the territory. You're going to teach because you have to share it. And that's another big component too, is that this practice is not about your own personal individual self. And I think this is what it just might distinguish it from other spiritual paths where you have your own personal practice. This is a practice that we've been given, which is a group practice. There is a group sadhana, and that group sadhana is a big component because you have to show up. If you're going to sit in your home year after year meditating alone, you're not going to have the same level of challenge when you have to face people and you get irritated because somebody's singing off tune in morning sadhana and you get pissed off and leave. I mean, that's kind of a microcosm of it. Is, yeah, are you going to get pissed off and just split, or are you going to, keep going, keep going? So that is the inner journey. The inner journey is your meditative journey of how you evolve and allow yourself to receive the teachings with continuity. And the continuity comes from gratitude. Are you grateful for this? Do you respect this teaching? Do you love it? Do you hate it? You can hate it and love it at the same time. But the continuity, the gratitude, thinking, wow, well, the gifts far outweigh the challenges. So I'm in, something like that.
Can Shaktipad be described as like a spiritual crisis? It's like you're learning Kundalini yoga, you're having the experience, and then you're confronting the ego, whether it's in sadhana or it's in a larger level. And all of a sudden you're saying, okay, I have this practice, and what does it mean to me? Where am I? What's going, like all of these questions, and kind of a reassessment and a reorientation to move into another stage of spiritual growth, possibly.
Absolutely. I think you just defined it, Supran. It is a level of growth, and it is a stage that you have to go through. So, it could be huge catastrophe, or it could be very light. So I don't think it's anything to be on the lookout for or in awe of, but just to understand that your meditative practice is a microcosm of the larger picture of you as a soul on this powerful spiritual path, and whether you can stay the course. It's kind of simple like that. So yeah, some people, it is a big catastrophe, but it's like we have all these little tools to help us keep in that zone so that we can, we're like navigating and carrying. I mean, it does go back to, well, why am I wearing a turban? Why am I not cutting my hair? Because you're carrying your practice into your everyday life. And the outside world, of course, is a great challenger. Like, oh, I want to look like everybody else. I just want to blend in. And it's like, well, okay, blend in. But then when you already have this magnificent practice with this huge aura, then that's what you use to bring the consciousness of individuals around you, whether they're your friends, your family, your students, that you have an impact. So, yeah.
Vaiguru, you already said and gave us some hints. What are the tools that you were just saying? There are tools, there are techniques that help me to either, yeah, when I feel myself getting into Shaktipat, to prevent or to get out of it again. So maybe I think I heard one of it is Bana, the turban, and also, of course, there is. I mean, we are coming from the Naad Academy. There is the Naad, right? And what else
Yeah.
would you say about that? Like, what can we do if we find ourselves trapped somehow in thinking we are the greatest and we are the doer?
Yeah. Um, thank you, Tyagapriti. That's really on point. Um, as much as people kind of like to delineate that, oh, there's a religion out here, it's called Sikh Dharma. I'm not looking for religion. I don't want a religion, but there is the components of Sikh Dharma is there is the spiritual practice of reading the words of the Guru. So reading the words of the Guru, whether you're speaking in Gurumukhi, which probably most people would only do in a meditation, right? You sing a shabad, you sing a mantra in meditation, but this, I think, is really the crux of it. If you can go onto your phone and open up the Guru and start reading. It starts with Japji, and maybe you can just read Japji in English, but whatever language it is that you understand, the written word, if you can read those words, and not just for a second, but like really give yourself some time to read, to listen, to hear. The technology is to recite out loud. So you're saying the words of these beloved individuals who had this great consciousness to even speak the words of their experience. And when you say those words, you hear your voice speaking the words of very elevated individuals. There's a lot of lessons in that. So that your voice and your mind is hearing yourself saying words way beyond all the doubt and negativity that we're bombarded with every second. I mean, I turn on the news and it's just like, oh, okay, I need some music. I'm going to turn on some music on my car. I'm driving in the car. I'm going to turn on some music on the radio, and it's just like, oh, I don't like the songs they're singing. So anyway, that's reading from the Guru and cultivating this practice. Maybe do a Sahajpad. A Sahajpad is where you decide, okay, I'm going to read all 1,430 pages because this is going to be a fantastic meditation. And, every day you read, 20 minutes or something, and you make that a daily practice. And the Sahajpat means that you're doing it at your ease, at your comfort. So maybe you read the whole Guru and it takes you 6 months, or maybe you just never make it all the way through, but at least I've had people say to me, you know what, anytime, it's just like, oh yeah, somebody said to me, an Italian woman, she said, Karen, my life has been so transformed. I said, really, what happened? She's been around for like decades and decades. She says, I've been reading in the Akampat, I've been reading from the Guru for an hour a week. I said, wow, that's fantastic. It's just like, okay, why don't I do that? Okay, let's all do that. So anyway, yeah. What does that bring up for you, Sukpran?
I was thinking of, I was questioning the role of Sangat and the spiritual teacher, and there's so much of an essence of Satnam, of ourselves, our experience, and seeking the truth within us, right? Within this practice that is, I also think, unique to Kundalini Yoga, and that reading, you can talk more about the nod, but like the technology also of reading from the guru is a little different. It's not just reading, right? There's something happening, and that's activating things within us that are arising, and that's what our experience is. And that's why when we bring ourselves to the experience, then we're allowing the true natures to arise within us. So we have that direct experience ourselves, and that is what brings us to newer stages of our spiritual development and our connection, um, and also our radiance and all of these other wonderful things. So can you speak more to a little bit of like the technology of the nod, and you're talking about a Sahaj pot, but also like where else does the nod come into this as far as like a practical tool that we can use in our daily lives?
Okay, so the practical tool in your daily life is, I think most of us in this realm, our foundation has been that we are practitioners and teachers of Kundalini Yoga, right? And that practice, especially the level of practicing yoga for yourself to make you feel better, healthier, then you reach another stage where you can expand the meditative process into the word by, say, you're reading Japji Sahib every day. Like you're not, I'm living in a community. We chose to be in a space where we would have daily group activities. Not that we love these people or hate these people, but people are coming and going all the time. So life is a continuum of all sorts of varieties of individuals, consciousness, opinions, et cetera, good, bad, indifferent. But in that practice, we step in the door. So we go through that level. Then the next level is to get into the level of bhakti, and bhakti is devotion. So if you can get to that level of devotion, I mean, maybe you don't care, but if you stay the course, you're going to be evolving. And when you get to that level of devotion, then you know how the prana creates the energy, and the energy creates the fire, and the fire creates the power. And then these are all the different levels in this practice. And so, sadhana, Amrit Vela sadhana in the early morning has been given as a practice. And it's very specific. It's an Aquarian sadhana, getting up, bathing. Cold water is the best, but bathing, and then doing your japji, doing your yoga, etc. So this is a lifestyle practice that usually you learn about in teacher training, right? Or in your community if you're part of one. Keeping people near you, constantly teaching, whether you're an active teacher, like in the role of organizing classes, or a passive teacher, where you just very naturally or organically work with people. And they come to you because they are attracted to your wisdom, your guidance, your interest in them. And I mean, if we're talking about personal practice, I have to keep saying over and over again, take that personal practice into a group. So I'll acknowledge Supran, who does the seva of setting up. She set up a summer solstice in her backyard, so to speak, and had 50 people come for the weekend, camping and doing yoga and sadhana and meditation. And this is her devotional practice of giving back, but it was also her self-initiated understanding of where the power lies. And I think that's a good example of how you create satsangat, how you create community, just by inviting people over and doing a chant or a meditation. Just say, okay, it's Saturday night. We don't need to play Scrabble or I don't know, Catan. Let's have fun and do a meditation, and everybody bring some food, and we'll have a potluck. And that is an extension of your level of sharing, and that level of sharing is like, that's what the Aquarian age means. And that's why people keep saying, well, when is the Aquarian age going to start? When are people going to start being nice? Well, it starts with you and me. So, we have a teaching, we have a teacher. And if you can be inspired enough to do something in a community way, if you're not in a community already with the opportunities to teach and do seva, that you initiate them yourself. Could be your birthday, could just be 4th of July, who knows? It's up to you, for no reason at all. You don't have to be a KRI certified level 1, 2, 3 teacher. You just be you, just be a soul. And okay, next.
I have a question regarding that, because I live in an ashram, I'm in the community, I'm very grateful for that. But sometimes I struggle. What is my part? How can I support people when I see that they are going off, even into Shakti part, right? So I observe this happening, and yeah, is there something that, I mean, you have more experience in living in these communities. Is there something that we can do to support, or do they have to go through? That probably anyway.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question, because it really does come to terms with, do you have a relationship with that individual who you're watching? And if you have the sophistication to be able to reach out in a very kind and loving way and just say, can I help you in some way? Or I don't know, sometimes you can't really tell. I know we have a community where there's people coming and going all the time. And in Sunday Gurdwara, we get new people all the time, whether they're from Punjabi community or they're just passing through for whatever reason they're there. So sometimes what I do is, if I'm feeling like there's an alone person there and they're not deeply, sometimes somebody's just sitting there deeply meditating. You can't really determine the depth of their meditation, or if there's an internal struggle there. But I have on occasion said to somebody, oh, we're making chapatis in the kitchen. It's really a great seva. Would you like to join? So, I'll take them out into the langar hall, the kitchen, and there's usually a whole bustle of kids and parents, and everybody's making little balls, rolling the balls, cooking them on the stove. So there's actually a group activity there that goes beyond the internal meditative experience, but this is a devotional experience of preparing food for the community. And so that's another dimension that may not exist in your world, but you can always make it happen.
Thank you. I love this idea to really bring the seva in, right? To somehow engage, and that brings you back on track some way or the other. Yeah, Vaheguru.
In the old days when Yogi Bhajan first appeared, it was like, he was kind of like this mythical figure, because we're already all practicing Kundalini yoga, never met him. And when I was up in Los Angeles, his wife, we called her BBG. BBG means sister, but it means respected sister, respected elder sister. And what BBG would do is she'd be cooking longer for everybody. She'd be cooking, she'd be serving, and it's like she was cooking in these big giant pots, and she's not a tall person, so she'd have to be standing on a stool leaning over. But it was so impressive to me to see her level of devotion in action as a woman, as the wife of a master, because people are always gravitating like, oh, to this man. But here is, what I think is probably the most practical understanding of this area of spirituality, is that it doesn't matter what gender you're born into. And being so fixated with gender is like kind of another challenge in people's lives. It's just that keep relating to the spirit, keep relating to the soul, and that everybody has a soul, and acknowledging that soul in that individual through, just saying, complimenting. I think complimenting is really important. Like, you're such a devoted meditator. I see you every day coming, and I just wanted to tell you that inspires me. Those are small things, but in this spiritual realm, wherever people are, any type of sharing that you can do, reaching out to people in acknowledgement, rather than just, oh, well, you pronounce that wrong, or you shouldn't be lying down, whatever. You know what I mean? There's that fine line between uplifting and correcting teaching. So the Shakti Pod is something that's very in my studies and understanding. It is a very strong understanding. Kundalini yoga is just not something that somebody made up all of a sudden in the last 50 years. And I think this is a point to really understand. Kundalini yoga has been around for thousands of years, and it has evolved through the human evolution of consciousness of mind in the East. In the West, we're very, very material. Doesn't mean we're not a soul, doesn't mean we don't have the capacity. It just means that culturally, genetically, maybe DNA, we've inherited a different type of genealogical substance. And so that means that our challenges may be, I'm speaking from a Western perspective, that our challenges may be more in the realm of the material rather than in the spiritual. So giving that respect, it's like another thing about Shaktipat is when you hear negativity, criticism, it's like you cannot go there. It's such a disease, and that takes you, it's that challenge, that ego, to put you into diminishing what you're doing. So it is honoring. And there is no concept of spiritual teacher in the West. It's all about me. I'm going to make my world. I'm going to become something great, right? I'm going to become the best Kundalini yoga teacher. I'm going to make a lot of money or whatever. But it's like, in your practice, if you can just, I think the way to get into the devotion, get into the bhakti, get into the gratitude, that's why I say reading from the Guru is, you may not even know what the Guru is. It's a Siddhi Guru Granth Sahib, but it is a permutation and combination of sounds, which is a meditation all its own, and it does recalibrate and open up. I talk a lot about the 10th gate because we're going beyond the chakras of Kundalini yoga. We're going into the space of where your energy is expanding out. And as your energy expands out, you're going to attract criticism and negativity, right? Definitely. So that's why the pillar of your practice has to be respect. And if you have a spiritual teacher and somebody is saying all kinds of very negative, it's like, how can you know? You can believe it, you can't believe it. But if you can just understand that listening to negativity pollutes your mind and it puts your mind into doubt, and that is a poison. So you can use that too, just in your relationship, in your community, is helping steer people back into the promoting activities, not ignoring, but just putting things into perspective and saying, you know what, we have an altar, and the altar is the place where we bow our head. Why do we bow our head? Because we want to give our consciousness an opportunity to manifest our highest consciousness rather than all the critical minds and the limited thinking.
Yeah,
So,
what came to me is when you were sharing about the difference of the East and the West, and how this part of, I think in the West, it's very hard for people sometimes to bring in humility and really be humble, not in a fake way. And to me, this is something that I heard also, right? Reading from the Guru, I think when I do it, it's really always puts me back into a perspective of being humble, right? And yeah, I really like the idea, this gratitude of being able to walk this path, but also being always reminded of this, yeah, of this humbleness that this path it teaches me. Yeah, by reading from the Guru.
that's beautiful. Thank you, Tyagapriti. You really nailed it. You really nailed it, because yeah, I think that's the essence of it. Like, and that's why people do such things. Is if you go to a Punjab, like say you go to the Golden Temple in India, and there are people who they have a shoe rack. So when you walk in, before you walk into the Golden Temple complex, you have to take off your shoes, wash your hands and your feet, but you put your shoes up on the counter, and then there's all these people that could be kids, women, men, it doesn't, young, old, they will take your shoes and put them on the shoe rack. But what do some people do? They go around with a cloth and they start dusting all the shoes. And sometimes I'll see a person who's taking my shoes and then taking their hand and taking the dust off the shoes and putting it on their forehead. And this is an expression of humility, and it's an expression of bowing. And it's not that you are great people, it is acknowledging the oneness of us all, that we are all part of this vast creation. The Jains take it to a extreme extent where they wear masks so as not to kill any bacteria or breathe in any bugs or step on any ants. But this service, this level of seva, selfless service, it's not like necessarily, oh yeah, I'm building an orphanage, I'm so great. Just the smaller the seva, the more humility is required, because if do you have an idea of what I mean? Seeing people just taking everybody's shoes and making it neat outside the Gurdwara. But just these very small, tender acts of respect and devotion, of service. Nobody's going to thank you. I mean, maybe you will, but that's not the intention. So thank you, Tyagapriti. Yeah, so anything else about Shaktipad? I guess the one thing is like the spiritual teacher is a passageway and it is a place of an altar. That's why we make altars. That's why we put the guru on an altar and we bow to that space, not because it is a passageway, and because when we bow the third eye, then the 10th gate, opening up to the energy of that devotional spot. I mean, even if you create an altar in your home or a special room, or you have a closet where you keep all your meditative items and you're bowing there, that space will always, that's why they call it an altar. You bow, your consciousness is altered in that space through the constant practice of humility and devotion. And, you know, if the gratitude's there, great. If it's not, if you're pissed off and angry, it's a good place to go so you can have your consciousness altered. So anyway, I guess once again, it's sobering to think Shaktipat only happens once in a lifetime. Okay. Teacher only comes once in a lifetime. Okay. That could be scary. Like, oh my God, did I blow it? No, you know, that's all these practices incorporated in your life, being around people who are practicing these practices as well, which is why summer solstice, winter solstice, European Yoga Festival, anytime you create an event, you're reinforcing these practices and giving people a chance to grow through these levels. And yeah, you know, who knows? There's no such thing as the top, making it to the top. It's just like maintaining, just maintaining. So yeah, I think we're all still in it. We're all still doing it. But, you know, you can see in this world today that the questioning and the disregard for value, respect for creativity, for creation. I mean, loving your environment and promoting, you know, promoting the growth of, you know, non-waste. Instead of giving out big fancy napkins, maybe I don't know, passing around a bowl of water. I don't know. This is kind of taking it to a crazy degree. But, you know, when I look out my window, I see grass growing and trees growing and the earth and the animals, and a respect for all life is just part of it. So you can get out on a tangent and go real big down one avenue, but if you can maintain your practice and find that group of people whose consciousness is going to help you continue, I think that's a really important component. Being able to continue, whether you live in a spiritual community or you don't, you know, that you have that ability to serve and that ability to share and recognize what those abilities are and what those avenues are, and keep asking for them. I think that's another point too, is like keep asking, what is the next step? You know, show me, guide me, you know, it's look for those signs in your environment that you're relating to at whatever level you're at. And if you follow somebody's advice and find out it's all wrong, it's like there's no guilt, because guilt is also a very, very self-destructive mind pattern. Just get back onto the train of Ad Guru Namah, I bow to the divine through, which is here now, was here yesterday, will be here tomorrow, is at this moment, and will ever be. So keep going on that track, that pathway. So do we cover it?
I think so. That was fantastic.
Okay, great.
Great.
Good. I'm always
Covered a lot.
pardon?
It covered a lot of really great points.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you took so much time and that you go really deep into the topics. That was really nice. The hour went like, poof.
God, has it been that? Oh, it has. Well, there you go. Okay. Anyway, keep your journal going. Keep going. That's all. It's all about the Maha mantra. Maha means the greatest mantra of the Aquarian age is what? Keep up,
Keep up.
and you will be kept up. Keep up, and you will be kept up. That's the Maha mantra of the Aquarian age. We used to go around with these buttons, those buttons we used to wear. And it had, of course, it had a little picture of it just said keep up, whether Yogi Bhajan's picture was on it or not. Keep up. And I think that's the blessing. If you can just keep up, you will be kept up. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing your points of view and if you have anything else to say, I'd love to hear it. Well, to be continued, right? We shall keep up, and God bless everybody. And thank you, Sukran. Thank you, Tiagapriti, for taking the time to join together on this topic. And let's see what else we encounter on the way in the times to come. God bless you all. Sat Nam.